Hey, today we're doing a repair on a 2002 2.5 litre transporter. It's a diesel motor, turbo diesel, and the problem that he's having is a delay in forward and reverse, and there's a bit of a flare happening as well between second and third, and a very soft third to fourth. Okay, I'm just going to do a quick scan on it. See if there are any fault codes. And we've got no codes on the generic scan. And we've got a code there. Again, we've got a torque converter code. We had one the other day with a similar sort of problem. And we've got a PO 1192. Torque converter malfunction. Now what we're going to do first is check the line pressure, and there's a little plug, just a bit hard to see, so I can't get the angle right, but there's a little bracket here and there's a little plug there which is the pressure port to test it. It should have about, I think, 60 psi at idle. I've got the ATSG manual, and this is an 01M, and you'll find that the plug on the 01P is on this side, over more towards the left of the vehicle, of the transmission. We'll just take that out, and I've moved that bracket out of the way, and you can just see it there, and it's a 5mm, so just make sure you blow around it, clean it before you pull it out. There it is, 5mm Allen key goes in there, and it's 10 by 1mm. You'll need a little fitting to put your pressure tester on there. There it is, plumbed it in through the bonnet there, so I can, if I need to, I can just drive it and see what pressures we're getting. Now I'm just going to start it up at idle. And we're just under, I can't read that, we're on about 40, 45, close to 50 psi. Should be at 60 psi at idle. And when we do a stall test on it, which basically means you put your foot flat on the brake as hard as you can, put it in drive and accelerate it to the floor, and that'll give you your stall speed. If you've got a tacho, it's good. If you don't, you'll have to hook one up just so you can see what the stall speed is as well. And we do the same in forward, in drive and in reverse, and just see what we're getting there. Alright, foot hard on the brake. We'll go forward first. Not even getting 90 psi, getting about 80-85 psi pressure. What this is telling me is that we can tickle up the pressure control adjustment. I'll show you that on the valve body. You can tickle it up a little bit. I'm talking about number 20. It's got that little ratchet type setup. So this one here, we can do that in. Those little pins there will ratchet on those little edges there. So what we've got to do is sort of screw that in a little bit. It's more or less trial and error, but going in will definitely readjust the pressure. And that one there is number 20, which is your boost pressure regulator, and it's adjustable, as you can see. And number 15 is your main pressure regulator. So you can get ream kits. When they recondition the valve bodies, they ream out the bore and put a slightly oversized valve in there, because they do flog out bores in the valve body. And we've got the line pressure checked there, and you can see it says line pressure should indicate 60 psi at idle in drive. Line pressure will increase to between 120 and 150 psi and should cut back to 65 to 75 on each shift. So you've got to take it for a test run. When you do the stall test, it should be around the 150 maximum when you do it in forward or reverse. And I've just taken off the back bolts and just letting that oil drain out, and then I'll just slowly loosen the front ones and drain that out. You can see the oil's pretty dark in it. I've got the pan off, you can see there. A fair bit of fine metal in there. So it hasn't been serviced for a while, obviously. And there's a little tube that measures the height of the oil when you're putting the oil back in. It's got to come, just drain out of there just slowly when you're filling it up. I think it's between 35 and 45 degrees. If it's over 45, then you've got to let it cool down and start again. Magnets have been doing a spectacular job. These just pulls out, but just be aware that there will be oil in there when you pop it out, so it's going to splash down. And there's that little pressure adjuster there. It's sort of, where's my torch? It is in a fair way, but you probably could do it up a little bit more. And these plugs here, they need to seal well as well, so if you give them a bit of a push or a wriggle, and if you can feel any movement in there, it's probably a good idea to replace them as well, as you'll be losing pressure there. Now we're going to pop all the solenoids out and just test them and possibly flush them, and also we just check all these. This transmission's been worked on before, but it's a good idea to just check all these Torx bolts that go through the valve body. Reason being, if you over tighten them, or if they're over tight, they'll actually restrict the movement of the valves. So you've got to adhere to the torque setting, which is, I think, up to 44 or 45 inch-pound. If you go over that, it'll actually compress the valve body too much, or flex the aluminium or the alloy. The valves won't be able to work as efficiently, and then it can actually wear out the sleeves where the valves run, will wear out prematurely. I'm going to take the valve body off. So you take all the bolts off, they're T30s, and I've got this little tool I made up to just pull these plugs out. It's a lot easier than doing it with a screwdriver. And basically what it is, it's I think 11.5 mil opening, and I'll just try and focus on that, and I've just got the end ground down a little bit just so I can slide in, and that just basically slides in over the plug, and you can see it just pops out, slides in and pops out. Oh. Very easy to come out. These straps, the wiring straps, just be very gentle with them. They can crack quite easily, so try and not let it wriggle around too much, especially when they've been overheated like this transmission. Ideally you'd replace the whole thing. Now I just like to put it over here out of the way. I'll just hang it over that. Just make sure you blow it out before you put it back in. Just let 2 bolts in loose, and you can see it's just draining out. I'll just let that drain out a little bit before I take it off. One other thing to note, this selector here, there's a little, you can see there's a little adjuster there. And what you're supposed to do is readjust this every time you change a valve body or remove the valve body and put it back together. The reason why is because the valve body can move a little bit on those bolts. The whole thing can move left and right a little bit. So it's a good idea to readjust this. If these aren't adjusted properly, you will lose pressure and you can have a slight delay in reverse and drive. And this transmission is doing exactly that. So what you do is you loosen that and just push that all the way in and just tighten the little lock nut up again. While you got the valve body off as well, after it drains a little bit, what I'm going to do is an air pressure test. I'll show you the location of those on the diagram, but you can apply the clutches with air, clutch packs, and just see if it's leaking or if it's sealing properly. Just bearing in mind it's going to be very messy when you blow there and you get that oil shooting back out when you release the pressure on it. You can see the valve body's pretty dirty. I wouldn't be surprised if it's actually worn out. T20 Torx, and then I'll be able to see if it looks okay or needs replacing. I've got the plate off and you can see that there's a ball there, a ball here. Here there's a little sleeve or a little washer that holds that ball from shuttling through. So just be aware of those. And just preliminary check, you can see that it's still holding oil between those valves, so that sort of tells you that it's not too worn out. But ideally you need to actually get on the Sonax SONNAX.com site, and it shows you all the places where you can do a vacuum test on these. But this one looks like it's fairly contaminated. What I might actually do in this situation is replace the whole valve body. I've had a look and we've got the same valve body. This one here, reconditioned one. We've got one left over from the days when these were really common. So I might actually just put that in. That's got all the solenoids, everything ready to go. Type, so you want to make sure you compare everything, make sure everything looks the same, and especially with all these separator plates there. This looks like it's the exact same one. I'm on the Sonax website and you can see there's a lot of information there. It shows you how to identify the different solenoids, all the little kits, improvement kits you can do for it. Valve body identification, you can see the differences, where to look for the differences, etc. Good stuff. Free information, great information. And again, I'm on the ATSG and you can see where to test all the different clutch packs. Your B1, your B2, K1, K2, K3. Okay, to do an air pressure test, what I've got is this little rubber tube, and you shove that in the port there. This port here is actually the K3 clutch. And then we get our air pressure. Push it in like that. You can hear that applying no problems. So that one's the K3. The little odd shaped one there, that's a K2. So I'll leave that one for now. The K1's right next to it there. You can refer back to that diagram. This one in between the K2 and the K1, that's the B2. So that's a round one, so I can test with this tube as well. You can hear that supplying, no worries. The B1 is this one. We're going to take this valve out to get that tested there. Right there. Don't forget to put it back in when you're finished. Now these, the K2 and the K1, they're an odd shape, and the hole, actually you can't even poke something in there because the hole goes to the side. I've got these little rubber blocks, and I just level it up on a stone so it's nice and straight, drill a little hole, and then you just line that hole up over there and push up, and then you'll be able to apply it. Just going to try and do the K. And you can hear the K2s applying nicely. And now the K1. You don't have to press it up so hard, but that one's applying as well. So all the clutches are working. I'll just take that tube out. Don't forget to put the B1 back in, and they also have a little O-ring there as well, so make sure that's sealing okay. There we go. Alright. Now that manual shaft valve, you'll notice it's half round. You want to put this on the flat end. Okay, what I like to do is just put the valve on there first and just hold it in place like that until I can slide the valve body in. And when that's in park now, it'll be in all the way. So what you can do then is just slide it in, and that rod will be inside that sleeve so it won't fall out. So it's a little bit tricky, but don't force that valve in, just let it slide in slowly. There we go. And then we just pivot around. And put the bolt in. Okay, I've set it to 44 inch-pound, and I've just gone through and tightened them all up. And in here, where the filter hole is, this little valve, you can actually get a little pick, a bit hard to see, but you can see that the valve's free in there. If you over tighten these, it can actually restrict the movement of the valves. And now that we've changed the valve body, we have to retest this as well. So sometimes it's a bit tedious. You might have to put the pan on, take it off a few times, and readjust that pressure there for the line pressure. Anyway, we'll put another filter in here and put it all back together, put the pan back on, clean the magnets, fill it up, and then we'll recheck that pressure at idle. While you've got the pan off, it's good to knock this filler out. And you can see that the seal's flattened right out. It looked like it was weeping there, so I'm just going to replace that seal as well and take this little filler cap out. Okay, put a new seal on there and knock the little filler plug out. When you're putting these on, have a bit of oil on there and you just sort of work it in slowly. You don't want to cut it. Now, quite often people will break this little plastic tube, and if you do, it's actually 42 mil from that little step there. You can see where I'm measuring it. 42 mil, or from there it is about 56 mil from the pan. I like to measure from there, so it's 42 mil. Oh, I forgot to adjust this manual shaft here because we've had the valve body off. You've got to readjust this, and the way that you do that is you loosen this here. There's a little spring steel bit there, and the vehicle has to be in park. You can see up here it's in park. You loosen that and then just gently push this into the bore and retighten it. And if you have a look there, it's a little bit hard to see, but just in here where my finger is, you can see how much it's actually moved. The white, there you go, you can see that, the white bit there, it's actually moved in that much. So it was out of adjustment. Whether the other valve body was out of adjustment, I don't know, but this one readjusted as well. And that's basically how you do it. I believe there is a lot of confusion as to how to do that, but that's basically how you do it. Alright, battery's nearly flat on my phone. I'm going to put the filter back in and put the pan back on. Don't forget to push these back in as well. Yeah, sorry, the phone battery went dead on it, so I've had to just charge it up. I've got it all back together, and you can see in drive, at idle, it's just above, probably about 65 psi, which is what we want. Just had it for a test run, also selecting gears, reverse and drive. There's not so much of a delay anymore. The whole shift pattern's up a bit higher than what it should be, but we'll just put the scanner on. We'll see if we can get a code. Clear all. There we go. No fault codes. So that's fixed that problem as well. The amount of fine metal that was floating around in there's an issue. It's probably on a limited lifespan. It's done, what's that, 340,000 kilometres. I doubt it's been reconditioned. Anyway, I hope that some of that information has helped. You do a repair on your VW, on your own, or your Audi. I've got similar sort of transmission. Thank you for watching.